Welcome to Devil's Advocate TV.
This is the end of the year special where we're featuring highlights of the news around Coggins School all year. Even through all the trials and tribulations of this past year, we still have managed to keep art alive.
Our first segment is from Jenna Ulizio, which will feature arts and entertainment.
In the entertainment industry, this summer is shaping up to be a blockbuster event. With the long-awaited return of Hollywood appearing to be ramping up, more and more titles are finding their way into the mainstream after numerous cancellations in the past year and a half. However, with approximately 1 million streaming services competing with theatrical releases, this summer is also slated to be very interesting. However, Devil's Ad TV has you covered with a quick summer preview of some of the most anticipated films being released and how you can experience them. For the film season, we start off running with A Quiet Place 2, the sequel to the blockbuster horror movie about a family continuing to fight for survival in an expanding silent world. Releasing on May 28th, it first hits theaters and is then available on Paramount Plus 45 days later. On June 11th, In the Heights takes the stage. The movie, with music by Lin-Manuel Miranda, explores Washington Heights, a New York City Dominican-American neighborhood, releasing on HBO Max and theaters simultaneously. Later that month, on the 18th, Pixar will release its animated coming-of-age movie, Luca, that takes place in Italy about sea monsters on Disney+. Marvel will also be kicking off the fourth phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe this summer with the thrice-delayed Black Widow. The fan-favorite Avenger gets her own standalone movie about her past as a spy on July 9th, through a premiere access release of Disney Plus and a simultaneous theatrical release. Back to Leah and Christine in the studio.
Thank you, Jenna. Now on to our health and wellness segment.
Our very own Leah is going to talk to us about what she thinks about vegetarian options at lunch.
Due to the pandemic in the last year, our options at lunch have been severely limited. And while we appreciate our cafeteria's attempt to try to solve this problem, vegetarians seem to have been swept aside. See, while their peers get to rely on their school lunches, we have to take lunch from home. However, this problem has experienced a significant change in the past few months due to a Devil's Advocate article. And now, vegetarians have the options of pizza or a salad, or even a vegetarian grilled cheese. And while this has been an amazing solution, it hasn't been consistent. And now we are looking forward to seeing our old lunch schedules come back into the routine. But from the Coggins student body, we all want to give a special thanks to the cafeteria staff for always looking after their students.
Great job, Leah.
Thanks. Are you looking forward to summer reading?
I'm not sure what I'm going to read. Let's check in with Ms. McCarthy and see if she has any ideas.
A couple of book recommendations for you as we go into summer and people have more time for reading. This is not a new book, of course. This is Frank Herbert's Dune, science fiction classic. And there is, later this year, there's a movie version coming out directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did the Blade Runner sequel and a couple other movies you may have seen. I am really looking forward to this movie because my favorite director, David Lynch, directed Dune back in 1984, and it was horrible. It was his worst movie. He would tell you that. So I'm really looking forward to seeing a better version of this book. So, recommending Dune by Frank Herbert. This just came in this week, and I'm very, very happy to finally have this. This is the poem that Amanda Gorman wrote and read at President Biden's inauguration back in January. It is a rhetorical masterpiece. It is a poetic masterpiece. And she somehow manages to take the state that our country is in right now and find hope in it. And I thought that was a really remarkable thing. It's a really quick read, so you could stop by during this last week of school and probably read it in 15 minutes or so. Well worth the time. And the last one is a graphic novel that we got in a month or two ago. It's called Invisible Differences. And I think it's a French graphic novel that's been translated into English, but it is about a woman with Asperger's, and I really loved this. It made me realize that when we use the phrase on the spectrum, that spectrum's a lot broader than I had thought. I found at many points saying, oh, I think like that, or oh, I behave like that, and it made me think more inclusively. The story itself is really empowering. She starts to become aware of the fact that her behavior is having this odd effect on the people around her, her coworkers, her boyfriend, and it's when she's able to put words to it. It's when she's able to realize, oh, this is a thing. This is Asperger's, and she can claim her identity, that she becomes empowered. So I really enjoyed this and recommend it to anybody because the odds are pretty good that you are either somewhere on the spectrum or you know someone who is. So well worth your time. Enjoy.
Thanks, Ms. McCarthy. I'll be sure to check those out. On another note, have you been keeping up with politics lately?
Not really, but I know Diya Patel has. Here she is explaining some of the early days of the Biden administration.
President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris were sworn into office earlier this year, a mere 2 weeks after a riot at the U.S. Capitol. In the first 100 days of office, the Biden administration has already committed to several executive orders and policies that tackle everything from the effects of COVID-19, racial equality, to climate change. So, COVID-19. A series of measures put in place by the Biden-Harris administration will be enacted to tackle the pandemic that's cost hundreds of thousands of people their lives. This administration set a mandatory mandate stating that everyone needs to wear masks and practice social distancing measures while on federal government property. This mandate was noticeably opposing former President Donald Trump's relaxed approach. Along with this, President Biden plans to create a new position of COVID response coordinator who would respond directly to the president. This position would also entail launching a 100 days masking challenge, which asks Americans to wear masks in public for 100 days. And to practice social distancing measures. As vaccination rates start to incline, he is set to relax outdoor mask requirements. And now about racial inequality. The Biden-Harris administration has been setting precedents in order to launch a whole government initiative to advance racial equality. This includes identifying methods to assess equality and allocating federal resources to advance fairness and opportunity. These precedents that go toward eliminating the racial divide was a crucial part of Biden's first racial equality address, which was announced on January 21st of this year. And for climate change, the Biden-Harris administration has confirmed their commitment to global acts of climate change by signing an executive order which began the process of rejoining the Paris Climate Agreement, which aimed to sustainably reduce global greenhouse gas emissions to limit the global temperature rise in this century alone. President Biden has also revoked the presidential permit granted to the controversial Keystone XL pipeline. This has been fought for by environmentalists and Native Americans for more than a decade. Through these executive orders, mandates, and policies, the Biden-Harris administration is currently changing the face of the federal government throughout these past few months. They've worked on several present-day issues in order to change America amongst the global community. While COVID-19 certainly has taken precedence over some of the other topics, the Biden-Harris administration continues to work for the good of the American people. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you. Now, don't you agree that this year has been crazy?
It sure has. We even got a new student body government led by Thomas Peters.
Speaking of, here's his farewell address as he turns over the reins to the new upcoming seniors.
A year from now, I'll be gone. Yet the institution I leave will still stand. Over the course of this school year, students have faced immeasurable challenges with their education, sociality, mental matters, and so much more. As a little over a year ago, our lives were put on pause. Our friendships were disrupted, our education was weakened, and the world as we knew it changed due to the consequences of a raging pandemic. Prior to this calamity, I witnessed a lack of student representation within the 4 years I've been here. And with the challenges COVID-19 brought to our school, I could not help but go through one more year without students being at the table when decisions were made. I believed it was incumbent on us to take the initiative to organize and become the change makers we wanted to see in our school. This year, I rallied students to join me in revitalizing the student body government, an association that had not existed in Coginchaug for more than 14 years. We institutionalized democracy, giving direct power to the students, where each and every one of us had the opportunity to elect representatives, share our concerns, and create solutions to some of the problems students encountered throughout the year. This newly established association shall live to embody the principle that all students within the School of Coginchaug Regional High School have the utmost right to participate in school governance, and it shall exist to engage in school policy, rules, and regulation that affect the quality of student life, education, and overall experiences. With this association, we can bring our words into action, rise to the occasion, and gain representation. The purpose of this government was to acknowledge that students have the right to be heard, and it's up to the next year's leadership to continue what we started. It has been an absolute honor to serve as your president. I am humbled by the faith you have placed in me to serve as your chief representative. And I want to give recognition to my class, the class of 2021. I want to express how immensely proud I am of all of us, because no matter the struggles we endured or the obstacles that were placed in front of us, we overcame because we never ever gave up. The beginning of our sports season was so rough, but it ended with elation, as not one, but both of our baseball teams and softball teams claimed victory in the state championship. I wish you all the very best on your future endeavors. To the underclassmen, I want to encourage you to become involved in our school, whether it's in the student body government or in other extracurricular activities. Know that you have the power to move Coginchaug into a different direction. I may have been the first to lead this student body government, but one of you is next.
Thanks, Thomas.
Now let's hear from our fellow classmates on their most favored, treasured memories from this year.
The most memorable thing about this year would probably be going between online and in-person school.
Watching the championship games.
When my students from my anatomy class came to me with a baby bird, and we actually managed to reunite it with its family.
Getting engaged.
Getting a dog.
Hanging out with my friends and meeting new people.
This year sure will be an unforgettable one.
Now it's time for a 2-month mass break.
See you in the fall.
Rolling.
Thanks so much.
I'm looking right at it. I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. Like,
I feel like the vegetarian outfits are bad. Jen's here to tell me I did a good job. Okay, so... Okay.
The pants on the floor. Outtakes, love them.
Violent outrages.
Action. Here she is explaining the begin. I reworded it.
Magical cinematic.